Our favorite stories here combine amazing myth with fantastic science. And there's no better example of this than the Giant's Causeway. Here you can marvel at basalt columns and take a peek into world-defining changes happening at the Paleogene. If you're lucky, you may just catch a glimpse of a giant, if you believe the myth, that is.
You definitely need to hear about the incredible geology and the amazing myth surrounding this UNESCO heritage site. Let's go! The Giant's Causeway is so cool. It's made up of 40,000 different columns that are hexagonally shaped and made of basalt. And they kind of defy the laws of nature.
These columnar formations appear like a walkway created by giants. Now the columns can be anywhere from 3-sided to 9-sided, but apparently there's only one 9-sided column. So keep your eye out for it. The majority of the columns here are 6-sided, and there's a good reason for that.
That's a good shape. It's a pentagon.
Oh, you're right. It's a pentagon. Did you find the 9-shaped one? The 9-sided one?
No.
No?
Yes.
Me neither.
I got a cube.
You found a cube?
What is it?
Yeah. That one's 4. What other sizes do you find?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6. That's 6.
That's the 6th one?
Yeah. 6.
Geometric columns like these are seen in a variety of volcanic rock across the Earth. There's something like 40 sites where you can see similar kinds of patterns. These hexagons form as lava cools and cracks into these very specific shapes.
But how did these shapes form in the Giant's Causeway, you ask? Well, before the lava, there was limestone.
At the Giant's Causeway, sea levels were much higher 85 million years. The life that lived in that Cretaceous ocean eventually turned into the chalk cliffs that you see in places along the coast around the causeway. Over time, uplift and weathering created a valley here that became the perfect container to hold slowly cooling lava, which is key to creating the fantastic hexagonal columns.
The story of the Giant's Causeway began 60 million years ago when volcanic activity rocked this region.
At that time, the ancient continent of Laurasia began to break up, causing the opening of the North American Ocean. So the zones of crustal weakness had cracks and fissures through which all the lava that's rich in basalt could flow up and pour out onto the land.
This is so cool.
The lava that came to the surface here all pooled in one area, and as it cooled, it underwent a unique process called columnar joining. This creates the 6-sided polygons that we see here.
Very specific conditions need to occur to create columns like these with 6 sides. First, the lava that came to the surface gathered in a giant lake about 100 meters deep. The outer layer of this lava started cooling first, shrinking and cracking as it hardened because things that are cool usually occupy less space than things that are hot.
As it cooled, the lava cracked at certain spots, and forces pull inward towards these centers along the cracks to create columns that are most commonly 6-sided because this is the shape that typically relieves the most stress during cooling. The cooling process moves from the outside towards the interior, and in ideal circumstances, this would form long 6-sided basalt cylinders like giant pencils in the earth. But sometimes the lava can be more irregular, and other factors like water seeping in may influence the cooling. When this happens, you'll see more disorganized final shapes, like the one that caps the basal colonnade at the Giant's Causeway. The best example of this you can see at the feature known as the Organ. Crazy as it sounds, the geological processes that shaped Northern Ireland and the Giant's Causeway here are the same that we see happening in Iceland right now. So if you want to know what Iceland's going to look like in about 65 million years, come check out Northern Ireland and the Giant's Causeway.
The formation of the Giant's Causeway isn't just an awe-inspiring sight, it also holds valuable clues to the history of the Earth.
Now, the Giant's Causeway was formed during the Paleogene era. And by studying the rocks here, scientists have learned a lot about volcanic activity during this period. If you look out at the Antrim coast, it's hard to imagine how much different it looked here 50 to 60 million years ago when there was intense volcanic activity that resulted in the columns that we all love to visit and marvel at today. All that science is interesting, but we all know that it was actually Finn McCool who made the Giant's Causeway. You want to tell them the story?
Yeah, but I think science is correct, but I'll tell you the story. There's this giant named Finn McCool. He lived there in his house. You see those little rocks up there? Those are his house's chimneys. So one day, Finn McCool was out for a walk and he noticed the Scottish giant Brennan Donar. They started to get into a fight, and Finn McCool tossed a huge chunk of rock at him, but he missed so badly that he missed Brennan Donar. He even missed the island he was on, and that rock is the Isle of Man. And then Brennan Donar laughed so hard that Finn McCool got mad, and he made the giant's causeway to go get him. By the time he saw Brennan Donar, this is Finn, this is Brennan Donar. Brennan Donar is huge. Finn ran all the way back home, and he ran so fast that he lost his boot somewhere here.
For reference, Finn was supposedly about 54 feet high, and he wore shoe size 93.5.
And when he got home, his wife said, "What have you done this time?" In that voice like, "You're in big trouble, mister, aren't you?" And he said, "You know that Scottish giant Brennan Donar? I kind of made him pretty mad." Then she told him a plan to take the sheets, cover them in him, and go to the baby's crib. Soon enough, there was a pounding on the door. That was Brennan Donar. Finn McCool's wife opened the door, and Brennan Donar was like, "Where's Finn McCool?" Brennan Donar ran up to the baby's room, and he saw the baby, and the Brennan Donar was like, "If that's your baby, how big's Finn McCool?" And then he ran all the way back. And that's his story.
Here at Giant's Causeway, you don't have to choose between myth and science. You get both all in one package. Thanks for watching.